RJ here, one of the lead developers here at NeuralSeek. Going to go over some new features, upcoming and present. Makes us really excited to show off the multi-agent features that are coming very soon. Makes it really easy to have multiple configurations, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into some of this. So we're all familiar with the NeuralSeek UI today. Under the Seek tab, we can come in, ask questions. So we've got a few new things that I'm going to lead into here. So we've got category selection as a response value now. What this is we've always had categories in the configuration, but we're taking that to a new level with multi-agent. So what you might be familiar with on proposals is now going to be multi-agent configurations. So we have a demo environment here with it already set up a little bit. You can kind of see here that we have a multi-agent enabled config. So we can click into this and see our familiar configuration panel, knowledge base connection, organization preferences, and the like. Now we can set up category routing. So we've separated out guardrails into its own configuration section for multi-agent. We can take a look at all of these tabs. Most of them are familiar. They've been around for a little while. We've just improved the UI around it. We have brought in a couple new areas where you can fall back to mAIstro for like minimum text, minimum confidence, to generate custom messages based on, if we don't meet that minimum confidence. So guardrails has kind of been highlighted and brought to the forefront of these new configurations. Finally, we have category routing. So this is real meat and potatoes of the webinar today. Really excited on how this will improve configurations for a lot of use cases. So you can kind of see that we built out a moderate configuration here. We kind of have a flow for like general chit chat if you come in and just talk to the bot versus a product. This instance is trained on some IBM material. So we have like data products as a category with its own configuration. Then additionally, we also have like a category for data stage and quality stage separately. So we're able to distinguish questions that fall under this category, but also subcategories. I think you can nest this as far as 10 levels deep, just keeping in mind that each level does come with a little impact on time. So a 10 level deep might not answer as quick as you'd like, but definitely still very quick for everything it's doing in the background. So to kind of give you an example of what this looks like, you can see some of these have like default configuration. Some have these custom configurations. So I'll be able to show you this here in a moment, but we can come into each of these configurations and I want to ask a question about data stage. Here in the prompt engineering, we have these set up so that we can distinguish which category it's hit a little easier. But like this one is going to talk in tone of an English gentleman that's slightly annoyed, versus this configuration is going to have one that speaks like a cowboy, respond like a cowboy. All these settings, the knowledge base, the LLM details, we can use different LLMs for different agents. We can use different guardrail settings. So for example, we might want to have more tight guardrails on data stage, a minimum confidence, and we want to know what we're talking about when it comes to our product, and maybe block answers that are not very high confidence, where we also have a general chit chat configuration that has effectively no guardrails. We have no minimum confidence, and we've disabled the semantic score model. So it'll talk to you in natural language like you might expect. Gives us a lot of flexibility to do different things in different areas. One other thing that I'll show you is the ability to tie in mAIstro configurations and flows into this. So no longer will you need to have a separate intent in virtual agents to call mAIstro. You'll be able to do that all in this one platform, all in one API call in Seek. So for example, a mAIstro flow might do disambiguation. It might do a fallback answer generation for another data source. It might reach out to a data source and Seek to generate a more complete answer. The limits, it's really limitless. So, I can kind of give you an example of what this looks like in our new chat tab that we're currently working on. So you're able to come in here and kind of get an idea of how things are flowing. So general chit chat, Normally, this is something that would get blocked by minimum confidence because it doesn't speak to our documentation at all. This lets us categorically disable that or make it more strict. It's quite interesting. So we can see on the Seek tab, I asked a similar question and we got a 3% semantic match. Again, normally something of this nature would be blocked, but because we have multiple configurations, it came down the general chit chat flow and we have those guardrails disabled. So to see the other side of that, maybe we want to go down the data products, data stage, or quality stage flow, right? So we'll do that right here. We can come in, ask the question, and we can definitely see the tone of voice change from that prompt engineering. And it's a little bit of snarkiness here. And then I can come in and ask, kind of just highlighting the different configurations that are already set up. I would expect this one to respond kind of like in a cowboy tone, right? Oh, partner, yeah, exactly. So, effectively, this ties in our proposals into a multi-agent configuration, really making it easier to set up different areas with different settings, giving you the ability to have really tight guardrails around some things, but also really loose guardrails around others. This could even extend to different large language models, different mAIstro templates. So another way to look at this, right? I just asked about data stage, right? I think it's this one. Nope, it's this one. So tell me about quality stage, right? So I'll ask this again, but we'll set this to be a mAIstro flow instead. Now for all intents in the curate tab, you can come in and set it to run a mAIstro flow instead. So this one won't exactly be related to the question, but that's all right. Gives us a little preview of what the mAIstro flow looks like, so we can confirm that it's the right one, kind of doing what we want, and then we can save this. So now we won't gen AI an answer for this. It'll actually run straight down to the mAIstro flow. So here we'll see chat comes back up, and then I'll ask it about quality stage again. Now we'll get a recommendation about the weather instead, because this actually goes to mAIstro now instead of our cached or Gen AI answer. Super useful. You're able to, one use case that I can think of off the top of my head is being able to ask about customer product status. What's the status of my return? We're able to make a configuration about returns. And then instead of reaching out to our general knowledge source, knowledge base, you're able to run a mAIstro flow instead to dynamically create an SQL query and grab the data related for that, where is my return, and form a Gen AI answer based on that without ever leaving the Seek tab. There's no extra configuration. There's no extra intent or setup in the virtual agent side, where previously you would need to make a mAIstro call separate. We do all of that today in Seek now. I'll take a quick pause there in case there's any questions.
RJ, I'm going to keep going. I am going to put in the chat a link to our documentation so that you can see the current large language models that integrate with NeuralSeek.
There you go. Awesome. So that's really the highlight of this this session. I'm really excited for this. It's going to make a lot of builds for me easier, and also a lot of complex configurations easier for you guys as well. Just really excited about it. So another thing that we did, we brought replay to production. That's something that's live now. We moved the logs tab over into governance. So that's now under Seek governance, Seek logs, and we're met with the familiar logs page. You can see we kind of brought intent and category over to the logs. We also have replay available now. So I can come back here and say, well, I refreshed my page, or I asked another question, or this happened last week, right? And I want to see what happened with this answer. Now it's set up to go to mAIstro. So I can't really reproduce this now, right? If I go to Seek and try to ask, tell me about quality stage, it's going to tell me about the weather now. So without changing the configuration, I can't reproduce this. But I still want to see what happened with this answer and why it was created. So I'm able to come in here and use the replay button. So this relies on the corporate logging feature to be enabled, connected to an Elasticsearch instance. When that's set up, we can hit the replay button. And it takes us right back to the Seek page and tells us where this answer was generated from and how it was. Just like we were on the Seek tab today, and I just asked it with that old configuration, and more importantly, with those old documents. Let's say those documents were updated between now and 10 minutes ago. I'm able to still see what happened and what contributed to that answer. So we can see what the intent was, what the category was. Also be able to look down to the documents that were used at that point in time. Again, just being able to freeze a point in time and come back to it for investigation. It's really helpful.
Sure. I always get this wrong. I apologize because I know I'm interrupting you. But I used to think that the red was bad. But can you explain the color coding with the answers in here and how they associate with the documentation beneath it?
Yeah, good question. So totally understand. A lot of us see red and think bad. The colors here are actually not incredibly significant for the actual color. They're meant to distinguish from each other. So when we scroll down to the documentation results, you can see each one of these has a different color bubble associated with them. So it's just really a tool to help you see where these documents came from. So I can click on this little purple here and see where we got the word integrate. Drills us right down to that document, but it's a color coding scheme to see which document is associated with that word or string of words.
Thanks, RJ. And I'm also just going to put a link in the documentation where you can read more about the Seek tab.
Awesome. Cool. So got a question here. Does the new configuration pipeline allow for automatic intent categorization, or are those categories defined manually? So those categories are defined manually. Your subject matter expert will come in here and define categories as they should flow. Typically, you might set up no categories and see trends of questions coming through. You can also kind of see, a couple of these have answer nodes on them. So you can kind of see where your answers are coming from. When you click on it, it should. We've deleted some of the data out of here, but when you click on that, you should be able to see where the data is. Doesn't automatically create these categories, but once the categories are created, you're able to add intents and remove intents. We'll also be bringing the ability in the Curate tab to add new intents as needed. That way you don't necessarily have to wait for an answer to be generated to get a new intent. Cool. Another part I'd like to highlight, so we've done some work in mAIstro to help with a lot of this. One thing that is relatively new that should be out for everybody is OCR. So we've all had the issue before of bringing a PDF in that may not be entirely text-based. Maybe there's pictures, screenshots, or maybe it's a scanned document, right? Those are notoriously hard to get the text out of. So when we upload a file, upload a PDF, we'll automatically detect if there's no grabbable text and OCR it automatically for you. You're also able to manually come in here and OCR an image. When you go to upload, we're able to come in and grab a picture to upload an OCR. But we do that automatically for PDFs that might be scanned or might be a picture. It's a really cool feature. We also brought in a couple new features for XML, so you can convert from XML to JSON back and forth.
And then,
Let's see.
Can you show us, go back to the mAIstro? I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
Because up in the top where it has the large language model, there's the different large language models available.
Yeah, so a couple spots here, right? You can come into the configuration and add new large language models really easily. So you're able to come in and toggle back and forth between configured models, and you're also able to come in, add models from a lot of out-of-the-box platforms. We're able to come in, add models from like Amazon Bedrock, OpenAI, or WatsonX.ai. Come in, select a model. Then once the model is selected, you can add it as a card. You can see we have quite a few in here already configured. Scroll all the way to the bottom here. Once you select a card, it just takes the API keys and the URL for the endpoint, and you're set up. Pretty quick and easy to set up. Also effortless to switch between them. So I think we're using 4.0 Mini for a lot of this stuff. It's as quick as just disabling and enabling a different model. Pretty effortless. Then on the mAIstro side, you're able to select any model that has the mAIstro function enabled on that card. So effectively, I can write, let's do an example template here, like write a marketing email based on NeuralSeek documentation. So we'll pick something like GPT-4o. Great. So we've, write a marketing email based on this list. We reach out to that URL to scrape it, send it to the LLM twice. Once to summarize it, create a bulleted list, and then second time to write the marketing email. You can see it kind of wrote this in Markdown format. So if we just switch the model, let's say Llama 3.1. Then you can see we have a totally different format. Just based on the large language model we select, they all have a slightly different voice, so it's easy to swap in and out and try new ones, try the old ones, try different ones, and just compare side by side.
Thank you, RJ.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else we brought out, Nam.
Well, we did just originally plan our webinar for just a 30-minute webinar. So that puts us at about 6 minutes. Do we want to open up for Q&A, or did you have another item you wanted to feature?
Yeah, we can open up for Q&A here. See, Jordan asked how cached answers are affected by the different configuration pipelines. So realistically, cached answers should flow through the Curate tab just as they always have. We still categorize and generate intent names based on the category name. You should still get cached answers the same way. It'll reach through that category, generate an intent name. If you change the category name, it should route you to a new answer. Yeah, Max, good question. So when does this all roll out? I would expect to see a lot of these new features roll out in the next week or two. I know that some of these are already out, so I can speak to what's already out in production today. I know that if you have replay, that is with Elasticsearch, you're able to set up a separate Elasticsearch instance with corporate logging. I'll look at that here really quick. So when you go to the main config, this is for single or multi-agent. You just enable the corporate logging endpoint and plug in your Elasticsearch details, test it, save it, and then that enables replay. From there, you can come in and use the replay feature on questions and answers given. This is out today. This rolled out probably early this month. I think it was a little after our last webinar. Then for OCR under mAIstro, that's been out for a little while. The multi-agent stuff is what we're working on right now and getting ready to roll out. We have a couple more things to add. Also in the chat area, I believe we're going to add some more features in the chat to fill up these sidebars.
Thank you, Max. With that said, Max, you did make my heart rate go up a little. When these roll out, we are always updating our documentation to align with them. So those should have it on there as well, so you can follow along with documentation. Obviously, our team is always happy to answer any questions that you have. So if there's any time that you want to put into our calendars or connect with us, please reach out. But yeah.
Yeah, just to follow on to that. So over on the NeuralSeek platform, there's a straight link to our documentation and the what's new. So we typically, right after release, we update the changelog with the new stuff. So I know that replay isn't in here, but I'm pretty sure we released replay right after this rollout. So we should see a rollout here very soon for a lot of the new features, and it'll include in the changelog.
And then RJ, can you just show them the documentation as well?
Yeah, just documentation.neuralseek.com. Gives us a good overview. Main features is more descriptions of our features, so like the UI, the capabilities. Integrations kind of goes over what we support, and then reference material is more an area for either more advanced users or people who already have NeuralSeek. a little detailed documentation on the NTL, so the mAIstro nodes, and then also some guides on like configuring Elasticsearch with vector search, setting up pinecone with NeuralSeek, using proposals. We're probably going to have a guide in here shortly with the release to have multi-agents. Knowledge-based tuning to help generate better answers if you're struggling. Also our changelog.
Well, thank you so much. That honestly puts us 1 minute right at time. So I want to just do a big shout out, everyone, wherever you're at. Round of applause for RJ. Any shout out to our tech team. And thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you next month.